Alright. So we got some big things going on, especially if you remember all the way back a few years ago. We started hearing that big banks and hedge funds and the creations were buying homes by, like, the dozen. Right? People were just buying condos. People were going to suburban homes. You know, people just buying huge buildings, and you have whole entire communities just being dedicated to rentals. And many of these neighborhoods and zip codes were being bought by companies like Blackstone. But now Blackstone is pretty mad about this whole situation because they're actually losing a lot of money from many commercial office properties. And it's not just Blackstone, but several other landlords and small landlords, and basically people who own property in the Bay Area. They're taking hit after hit after hits. It's not even fun anymore. Right? Real estate right now should be a time where many of these prices are recovering. Manhattan prices are out of all-time. My aim price is all-time high. Even Seattle prices are somewhat stabilizing. But San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, for bull prices are still declining by a lot, and some of these sell numbers are horrendous. San Francisco office buildings sells for half of its price. But it's not about selling for 50% off. It's about having over a decade of price appreciation and then selling it for 50% off, which is absurd. So Blackstone Group, who sold a building at 657 rights to another realty company for $25 million. And Blackstone purchased a building about 7 years ago for a $50,500,000. So you're telling me almost a decade of price appreciation after buying the building. And of course, the building's price in the past couple of years dropped so much that you sold it for 50% off. Like, you couldn't even sell this for, like, $60 million, sold it for $25 million, which shows you how bad the real estate price is in San Francisco, because in those past 7 years, you got property tax. You gotta pay HOA. You gotta pay, staff members who upkeep the building. And then lastly, you also have inflation. Okay. Like, almost a decade ago, a $100 hit you so much more at Walmart. Now if you take $100 to Walmart, you get, like, 2 bags of chips. Inflation is a big deal. And this is not just Blackstone Group, guys. You also have Wells Fargo, who actually bought a building next to the Transamerica Pyramid building. This is a tourist attraction area. This is actually a very nice area. So I was shocked when Wells Fargo said that they're selling their building for 75% off. They bought it in 2005 for a $108 million. And they sold it for $40 million. So that's about, 2 decades of having the building, and you sold it for pennies on the dollar. Like, you couldn't even sell it for the price that you paid for back in 2005. That's how bad the real estate market is. So now you have people really wondering. Okay. So I bought this tower all the way back 20 years ago, and I paid about, let's say, $200 million. You're saying that I could only sell this for $100 million. I couldn't even sell this for the original price tag that I paid for. And I'm sure $200 million back 20 years ago was worth way more than it is now. Right? So this is a pretty scary thing to see for the Bay Area real estate. If you go to places like Hong Kong, for example, people say Hong Kong real estate is just completely terrible. It's going down in price. But, yeah, Hong Kong property values and commercial office space is down in the dumps. But if you bought some Hong Kong real estate back in like 2005 and you sold it now, you still make a good 3 to 5x, like, easily. Same thing with Singapore. Right? Same thing with Manhattan. Yeah. Manhattan real estate prices are down. But if you bought it, like, in the mid-2000s, you're up, like, a lot of money. You're up easy, 34x. But San Francisco is like, okay. You bought it too, or screw you. You're gonna have to sell it for 50% off of what you paid for back then. And back then, like I said before, a single dollar's worth so much more than now. So people are really mad about this. Landlords are really freaking out. And we're also seeing massive cancellations of some of the biggest projects in San Francisco. You got Hayes Points, which is right here. They even got the machinery ready, and they're about to build this massive skyscraper. They can't. Right? And that blue building in the back, Nema, it's a luxury apartment complex in a fantastic location next to the Twitter headquarters, or X. It's next to Reddit, Uber, Lyft, and other tech companies. But, of course, many of these tech companies are leaving and employees are working online. which is causing them to about the default on a $4.1 million loan. And, of course, Hayes Point, it's this piece of land. You can see it on Google Maps, is now being sent back to the lender. They don't want this piece of land anymore. It's completely worthless to them. It's this piece of land. Look at how good looking this piece of land is. It's a big piece of land. And of course, every investor's dream back in 2019 was to get a piece of land like this and build a massive tower, because you could easily sell out all those condos. You could easily rent out all the office space. And everything else. Because back in the old days, the vacancy rate was less than 5%. Meaning, you could charge astronomical numbers for a new construction office tower. And now they're like, you know what? Let's not build this. No investor is giving these guys any money to build this tower. Not to mention, you also have another massive skyscraper, One Oak. These guys are also just pretty much canceling another 40 to 50-ish skyscraper building. And this shows you that construction has fully halted. The amount of new condos being created in SAM schools at an all-time low. And, of course, you got big boys like Blackstone, Wells Fargo, selling their condos and selling their buildings for insanely fat losses. If you look at this, the vacancy rates are spiking in San Francisco, sublease space nearly double year over year in Silicon Valley. Leasing activity is fully collapsing. More and more landlords will be defaulting, or landlords take an insane loss by selling their building to someone else for 50% off. And here's the thing about many of these big original investors. They wouldn't really sell. They know the price will recover over it, but the damage has been done. And I think this time, the damage is irreversible. Now, if they change the laws and let's say San Francisco is super strict on crime, on drugs, on shoplifting, back in 2021-22. I'm sure by now, many offices will probably start coming back. It's because of the high crime rate and the insanely high shoplifting rate, which is causing many businesses to leave, which costs a domino effect. And when businesses leave and criminals run the streets, of course, you lose a 150,000 off workers. I really hope San Francisco gets back, because it is really a fantastic city if you've ever been here. It's a completely different vibe from the East Coast. It's a very different vibe from the Florida cities. It's its own kind of center. Right? It's a peninsula. It looks great. Great weather, great food, great culture, and the city is really laid out differently. But right now, it's unlivable because of the insane amount of crime. Like, we talk about crime being everywhere, but San Francisco time is very unique. At this point, criminals don't even wear ski mask. Alright. I can't imagine criminals not wearing a ski mask and then get away with that. San Francisco for you, and they were down about, like, 700 cops. So you got a hole deep in the police situation, really shaking up the whole entire city. And Oakland is even worse, with even the guys in Little Saigon, right, which is an area that's pretty close to downtown, says Little Saigon is like a wartime period city. It's pretty much says a lot of big things about the Bay Area. And the elections are coming up. People really want some change. I think most business owners in San Francisco, they don't want little change. They want, like, super radical change, like, insanely radical changes to really get the city back on its feet. Because right now, if they don't do anything super drastic, I didn't see it. It's completely screwed. And just look at Blackstone. They're pretty mad about this. So thanks for watching, guys. Calm blow. And see you later.